We'll have more on that as it continues to develop. In other news, the former U.S. President Bill Clinton is giving evidence today to a congressional committee about his relationship with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Mr. Clinton traveled on Epstein's plane several times and was seen in numerous photographs released by the Justice Department. He's always denied wrongdoing. He and his wife Hillary, the former U.S. Secretary of State, are appearing before the panel after being threatened with charges of contempt. It's the first time a former U.S. president has testified to a congressional panel since Gerald Ford in 1983. The hearings are being held behind closed doors, despite the Clintons' request that they be heard publicly. The Republican-led House Oversight Committee has asked for the depositions to be filmed and transcribed.
I answered every one of their questions as fully as I could, based on what I knew, and what I knew is what I said in my statement this morning. I never met Jeffrey Epstein, never had any connection or communication with him. I knew Ghislaine Maxwell casually as an acquaintance. But whatever they asked me, I did my very best to respond. I don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein. I never went to his island. I never went to his homes. I never went to his offices. So it's on the record numerous times. It then got, at the end, quite unusual because I started being asked about UFOs and a series of questions about Pizzagate, one of the most vile, bogus conspiracy theories that was propagated on the internet, that was serving as the basis of a member's questions to me. They asked literally the same questions over and over again, which didn't seem to me to be very productive. And then, as I said toward the end, you know, there were other questions that were totally off subject. So if they are going to fulfill their responsibilities to literally investigate the investigations, which is what they originally said was the scope of their work, I think they could have spent the day more productively.
We worked for 6 months to get the Clintons to come in, and then they acted like they were going to come in, and then they didn't show up. And obviously we moved to hold the Clintons in contempt. And I think one thing that surprised the Clintons, they assumed the Democrats on the committee would vote in a partisan manner and not vote to hold the Clintons in contempt. And what they learned was a majority of the Democrats on the committee either voted to hold the Clintons in contempt or voted present. And I think that's a statement that this investigation is serious. Again, no one's accusing at this moment the Clintons of any wrongdoing. They're going to have due process, but we have a lot of questions. So this isn't a partisan witch hunt. This was a motion, a bipartisan motion supported by the Democrats to bring the Clintons in. So I don't think it's any type of being unfair in any way to the Clintons. They've never answered questions, unlike President Trump, who gets questioned every day by just about every one of you about his knowledge or involvement with Epstein. To my knowledge, the Clintons haven't answered very many questions about Epstein.
And we saw earlier there Hillary Clinton, who testified yesterday. Her husband, Bill Clinton, the former president, is right now, right at this moment, testifying before that congressional committee. Well, for more on this, I'm joined now on the line from Paris, France, by Arise special correspondent James Blue. James, thanks very much indeed for joining us. So Bill Clinton has become the first former U.S. president to testify before a congressional committee answering questions about his relationship with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. As I mentioned, his wife Hillary had her turn yesterday. She said she never met Epstein, but Bill Clinton didn't he?
Yeah, good to be with you, Charles. He met Epstein many times. There were lots of photographs of it. There are lots of sort of exchanges between the two men. And, you know, President Clinton at the time just seems very satisfied, very, you know, comfortable in his presence. I think one of the committee's main jobs is to find out whether President Clinton continued to socialize and be with Jeffrey Epstein after his convictions and after he was going to prison the first time. And they really want to understand whether Jeffrey Epstein was responsible for funding the Clinton Global Initiative, which is the Clinton charitable arm that serves many of the functions that the United Nations used to serve. So I think there are several reasons for them to get together, and they are doing that as we speak now.
So, given the things you just told us, James, and given that Bill Clinton has a well documented set of interactions with Epstein, his deposition is likely to go even longer than Hillary's, which lasted about 6 hours.
Yeah, it is likely to go longer, and I think it's likely to be very detailed. I think the members of the committee, both Democrat and Republicans, have a real clear idea of what they want. They've been in session since about 12 o'clock and 12 o'clock Eastern time, and they are going to continue probably into the evening. I think there are lots of lines of questioning, and apparently Mrs. Clinton gave the jury some additional questions that they might want to have answered. But I think overall, both President Clinton and Mrs. Clinton said that they have work to do and they got back to the work. And, it's a wonder that they haven't, really sort of used their position, used their power, used their whatever to compel and to try to move President Donald Trump into a safety space.
And 12 o'clock Eastern time, 12 noon would be, I presume, about 6 p.m. here in Nigeria. And I understand that yesterday, James, Hillary Clinton was asked about those photos of Bill Clinton swimming in a pool with Ghislaine Maxwell and also in a hot tub. And according to US media, she responded coolly that she wasn't there to speak about her feelings. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it's classic Hillary Clinton. She is a woman who stands by her man. She's going to defend him come what may. And this was just another example of the way in which he has humiliated her by doing these things and having these behaviors that are completely unethical and sort of uncompatible to having a loving family and a loving heir rights. I think Secretary Clinton has proven yet again that she's a very wily, smart person, and she knows the type of person and the type of politician that's going to work out in that area of the state. And I think she had those skills on quite well yesterday. She was deft, she was polite at most times, and she was really unassuming. So she really was able to take drinks and not think about it. All those things that, after living in abroad so many years, you kind of forget just how to relax and have dinner. And that's what they did last night.
And Bill Clinton has said that he regrets his association with Epstein, that he never knew about his crimes. And no one has accused President Clinton of any wrongdoing, have they?
No, there isn't really a sort of element of wrongdoing. And I think it's possible that Bill Clinton may have not known the extent of Epstein's crimes, but I think it's absolutely impossible that he didn't know something was going on. There you saw all the presidents together with their wives. I think that Bill Clinton could have been a very good president as a result of his actions, and then as a result of the way he cultivated these people. His image and his reputation just continues to decrease because as we learn more and more about him, the people he associated with, the trips he took for business on other people's dime, it's really quite apparent he needed someone above him to be able to call balls and strikes. And that's just something that the Montparnasse can actually do.
And of course, these depositions are being held behind closed doors, though they're being filmed. What's going to happen to them? Will people get to see what was said? Will the video and transcripts be made public?
Yes, in fact, the the committee chair said this morning that he hopes to have Hillary's deposition released either today or first thing in the morning. He definitely wants to get them out because what happens is this is a real declaration, a place where French people can sort of say, this is what's important to me, this is what matters to me. And to the extent that they can do that and sort of box out the more popular titles, that would be good for them.
And I understand that the Democrats are now saying that this committee has set a new precedent where a former president is being compelled to testify before a congressional committee for the first time. And that means that President Trump should also now testify under oath instead of just answering questions at press gaggles. What's the likelihood of that happening?
I think the likelihood of President Clinton or Mrs. Clinton facing sort of some type of discipline for this, it's just very, very rare, Charles. Like, what do you do? And, I really think what this reveals is that President Clinton and Mrs. Clinton are under the firing line, under the microscope, when in truth, it's much more likely that President Trump should be the one who's there, not the Clintons. And that's what they sort of drove home in their testimony, that yes, take the issue of mental health seriously, but make sure you get mental health support for everyone who needs it. And for Bill and Hillary, that includes, the people who were there, and that includes President Trump. And so I think that's their message. Yes, you can talk to me. I don't know much, but you better talk to President Trump because he's in even many more pictures than Truman. And it's going to be harder and harder to shield them from this investigation. Harder and harder.
Indeed. James, thanks very much indeed. James Blue is our special correspondent. He was talking to me on the line there from Paris.